Ladies and gentlemen, a bombshell report just dropped about the Raiders actively pursuing quarterback Justin Fields. But is it all smoke? And are the Bears actually playing 3D chess and fooling everyone? Plus, Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce got into some hot water for his comments about Patrick Mahomes. I'll give my take on that at the end. On Wednesday, February 21st, a new report emerged by Tony Pauline, an NFL insider, saying that the Las Vegas Raiders are actively pursuing Bears quarterback, the former first-round pick out of Ohio State, Justin Fields. But is this all smoke? Is it really settled that the Bears are going to go ahead and just select Caleb Williams at pick number 1? They can if they wanted to, but we're also hearing reports that the Bears are shopping the number 1 pick, willing to trade down, maybe willing to stick with Justin Fields. Who is telling the truth here? We've mentioned before on this show that Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated said that several teams were inquiring for Justin Fields at the Senior Bowl, and now we have Tony Pauline, a longtime NFL insider, saying that the Raiders have genuine interest and they are going to explore trading for the guy. Other insiders like Schefter have indicated that it would cost a second-round pick to acquire Justin Fields.
You believe they would get a second-round pick for Justin Fields?
Definitely.
Definitely.
I think they might get a 1.
Really?
I do, yeah.
But with 1 year left on Justin Fields' contract, with the 5th-year option available, is he even worth a second-round pick at this point? Would you be taking a huge risk rolling the dice on this guy? Since he entered the league in 2021 after being selected at pick number 11, the 24-year-old Justin Fields has struggled tremendously throwing the football. When it comes to running, when it comes to scrambling, he is dynamic in that area, and that is why he was one of the NFL's top 100 players at one point. And in this past season, in 2023, with Raiders offensive coordinator Luke Getsy as the offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields did have some moments when it looked like he could turn it around, getting over 335 yards against the Denver Broncos and 4 touchdowns in week 4, and another 4 touchdowns the following week against the Washington Commanders. But the man had 6 games under 200 yards passing. He has not thrown for over 3,000 yards once in his career and has never had more than 20 touchdowns in a single season. Justin Fields recently unfollowed the Chicago Bears on Instagram, and people made a big deal about that, but he has cleared up some of the negative allegations against him in a podcast on 33rd Team. In this podcast with Amon St. Brown of the Lions, Justin Fields said, "Just because you don't follow the girl on Instagram don't mean you're not messing with them." So just because Justin Fields is not following the Bears, that does not mean that he's not sliding into their DMs. By the way, slide into my DMs. I'm now on Instagram at Wi-Fi Willie. Check me out. And also my co-producer, co-host Dial Up Audrey is there as well, at Dial Up Audrey. Check her out. But Justin Fields has made it clear that he wants to remain with the Chicago Bears, saying he cannot see himself playing anywhere else.
Of course I want to stay. I can't see myself playing in another place, but if it was up to me, I would want to stay in Chicago. I love the city. The city's lit. The fans are, they're great. And the people, it's a business. I ain't got no control over it. So whatever happens, happens.
Like most players, Fields has no idea what the organization is planning on doing with him. And who knows if he really does dig Chicago? Is this just player speak? Is he just trying to speak nice so the fans still love him? Who really knows? We do know that everything was not sunshine and daisies with Chicago Bears offensive coordinator at the time in 2022 and 2023, Luke Getsy. Some people blamed Getsy for some of the woes of the offense, and some people blame Justin Fields. And ultimately, the Las Vegas Raiders went ahead and decided to hire Luke Getsy as their offensive coordinator, even though he was fired in the middle of the season in November by the Chicago Bears and their head coach, Matt Eberflus. But the now Raiders offensive coordinator was asked about Justin Fields at his introductory press conference, and he had some kind words to say.
He's one of the best human beings I've ever got to work with. It's just the mentality that he brought every day, the consistent approach, the kind of man that he is. Just really, it was a blessing to work with him.
Now, what is he supposed to say? Just like Dial Up Audrey was telling me, do you really believe the guy's going to come out here and say, oh, he sucks and he's the reason why we sucked in Chicago? Of course not. Justin Fields at times was critical of Luke Getsy during the 2023 season, so much so that they had to pose for this picture, and we've brought this up before. They had to do this little hug and look at the camera just to show that they're still cool because Justin Fields had criticized the coaching and had blamed that for some of the problems problems on the offensive side of the football.
What do you think was causing you to think so much, maybe think too much?
Could be coaching, I think. But, you know, at the end of the day, it makes it, you know, they're doing their job when they're giving me, you know, what to look at.
You also have DJ Moore, the former Panthers #1 wide receiver, who was included with the trade for the Panthers to grab the #1 overall pick from the Bears in the 2023 draft. You had this guy calling out the coaching.
Like I said, it just comes down to us being explosive on the offensive side. We got the players to do it. We got our quarterback to do it. You know, everything else we just need to call the plays that put us in position to have explosive down the field or catching runs like we did today. So we just got to be an explosive team and not a team that's just behind the sticks.
So he's criticizing the play calling, saying they need to be more explosive rather than behind the sticks. Sounds like he's criticizing the fact that Luke Getsy tends to be run first with his offense, being behind the sticks. You also had the wide receiver DJ Moore say that he wants the Bears to stick with Justin Fields as their quarterback for 2024.
I'm proud of him, and I know the fans love him. And
you're on record, and you want Justin Fields as your quarterback.
I'm definitely on record.
Yeah.
So he's definitely on record. He wants Fields as his quarterback. So you have Fields, DJ Moore, critical of the offensive coordinator, critical of the coaching staff. The head coach of the Bears, Matt Eberflus, is a defensive-minded guy. It seems like he lets the offensive play caller do what he wants with his side of the football, with his scheme. So when the Raiders went out there and signed Luke Getsy as their offensive coordinator, they basically decided that Luke Getsy was not the problem in Chicago for 2022 and 2023, and instead the problem was Justin Fields at quarterback, that he could not get it done. He limited Getsy's offense, and that's why they ultimately failed. You even had opponents of the Bears call out Luke Getsy's play calling. Levante David of the Buccaneers, when he had a pick 6 against Chicago, he called out the play calling, saying they ran the same play, the same formation. Everybody knew it was coming, saying that they ran the same play 3 times in a row.
Out of the zone, end zone, intercepted by Shaq Barrett, fighting at the goal line for a pick 6.
So in my opinion, it's very difficult to have your cake and eat it too. It's very difficult to say that DJ Moore, Justin Fields, even opponents like Levante David were calling out the coaching with Chicago last year on the offensive side of the football, and then also say that Justin Fields and Luke Getsy would like to work together. That just does not add up. That seems very confusing to me. It would be one thing if you could say, hey, maybe Matt Eberflus was having an impact on what Luke Getsy can do on the offensive side of the football. That's why it didn't work out in Chicago, but that's not the case, and there's not a shred of evidence to suggest that. If anything, the evidence is on the contrary. Eberflus, defensive guy, lets the offensive coordinator do what he wants, and now the Chicago Bears have Shane Waldron, the former Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator under Pete Carroll, who helped Geno Smith not right back though. This morning, you also had Mike Florio make a comment about the Chicago Bears, what they plan to do with the quarterback position. The big news and the big story here is that the Bears have said they're going to make a decision on what they plan to do with the quarterback position by next week. But how is that possible when that's around the time of the combine? How is that possible when that's before free agency, before the NFL draft? Yes, they can technically select anybody they want at pick #1, but wouldn't you want to do a thorough evaluation on all these upcoming draft picks before you make your decision?
The notion that the Bears expect to have a plan in place by next week suggests that the plan is keep Justin Fields and trade the pick, just like they did last year when they used the scouting combine as the way to lay the foundation for the eventual trade that sent the first overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. So now that I've read that and thought about it, written about it, and slept on it, I kind of wonder whether the hint there is they're looking to trade the first overall pick.
The Chicago Bears did the same exact thing last season. They shopped the first overall pick at the scouting combine and traded with the Carolina Panthers. They had the opportunity, if they wanted to select Bryce Young to be the new quarterback of Chicago, to select CJ Stroud at pick #1. By the way, in my recent video, I said that CJ Stroud was selected at pick #3. No, he was selected at pick #2. My bad, I had a long day. So if the Bears had the opportunity to select a franchise quarterback last year, but they opted to stick with Justin Fields, why would they all of a sudden not stick with Fields this upcoming season? They fired Luke Getsy, their offensive coordinator, hired Shane Waldron, clearly blaming Getsy for the offensive woes rather than than Justin Fields. Maybe they're blown away by Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, or Drake May, and perhaps they're going to move on from Fields this year, unlike last year. But based on what DJ Moore is saying, based on the decisions they've made as far as coaching, it seems more likely that they're going to trade down from pick number 1 rather than select Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick, especially given the fact that they're making a decision on this by next week. Next week is when the scouting combine happens. So look, even though this is the deep off season and I would love for there to be some legit Raiders news where they're grabbing Justin Fields for sure, I have a feeling that Tony Pauline right here is being fed some false information. Perhaps this is a strategic leak. Perhaps they're just saying that the Raiders are inquiring for Justin Fields. Maybe the Raiders are inquiring for the number 1 overall pick. Who knows? But to think that the Raiders are going to link up an offensive coordinator with a quarterback who did not mesh well with their new offensive coordinator, to think that they're going to spend draft capital on an experiment that already failed in Chicago, that just doesn't add up to me. I honestly did not even want to cover this. I think it's a complete non-story. This is what happens when you have a dead period of the offseason. Even people who I like and respect are just clutching, trying to find some stories. Adam Schefter talking about Antonio Pierce's comments about Mahomes. The Raiders will have Mahomes rules for playing against the Chiefs. This has become a big deal. Basically, on Max Crosby's podcast, Antonio Pierce made some comments about being rough with Mahomes when they play him and how that was part of the reason why they had success. And people are twisting this, trying to act like Pierce is advocating some type of bounty gate headhunting tactics against Patrick Mahomes. So let's just take a look at the clip in question, saying that you got the Jordan rules, we got the Patrick Mahomes rules. You had Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk asking the NFL to comment on this. The fact that Antonio Pierce said we have to take the head off the snake. They're trying to assume that Pierce is advocating headhunting, illegal helmet-to-helmet contact hits.
We gotta win the division first, man. We gotta knock off the team in red. Yeah. They've been dominating for 7 years. We gotta knock off the head of the snake. Yeah. 15. Yeah. We got to do that first.
Obviously talking about just being more physical during the football game, clearly not insinuating that the Raiders plan to break any rules when they play Patrick Mahomes. This is a ridiculous non-story, and honestly, I'm disappointed that so many people blew this out of proportion. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe this is all smoke? Do you believe the Bears are going to trade down? Do you believe the Raiders are not going to spend a pick on Justin Fields? Are they going to look elsewhere for the quarterback position? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Like this video if you have not yet. By the way, if you're still watching at this point, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all the people who watch all the way through. So shout out to you. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.